Broncos country, what is up? How you guys doing tonight? It is what is today? Saturday, March 23rd. Hope you guys are all having a wonderful start to your weekend, man. And thank y'all for tuning in. I took a couple days, little hiatus, nice little weekend getaway, or I guess not an early weekend getaway up in the mountains. So that was a nice little recharge for me and the wife celebrating our 2-year anniversary. So anyways, for guys, any of you guys that do not know me, my name is Mark. I am a Denver native, born and raised, huge Broncos, Nuggets, Avs fan, but just a huge sports fan in general, and really just wanted to make this awesome channel to be able to connect with more people and invite you guys to come onto the show, come onto the channel. Let's debate, let's talk about whatever it is that you guys want to talk about. It is open to everybody at any time, so would love to get that going. I'm kind of getting to the point now, to be honest, where I'm a little sick and tired of talking about the Broncos quarterback situation because it's almost like it's so exhausting, right? And there's just so much smoke out there. There's so much what ifs, and really nothing's gonna get answered for another 6 weeks, right? But I did a lot more digging and diving into these guys. I'm not really. I wouldn't consider myself like this film guru, right? But I do like to go back in and just watch guys play, look at their highlights, their lowlights, their composure, take into account a little bit about their situations, who they're playing, what their line is like, what kind of offense are they running. And then that helps me really start to formulate more opinions. And I think it is true, man. You can really kind of start to talk yourself into somebody if you really feel like you like them, and you can kind of start to talk yourself out of it. So it's really hard to separate it. And I wouldn't say over the last few weeks I've talked myself into Bo Nix. I really think the more and more that I've thought about it and looked into it, he just seems to kind of check every single box that makes sense for the Broncos team, considering the situation that we're in. I think we're really better off with a guy that is going to be ready to play in the NFL, ready to continue to grow, has a ton of experience, and can really run the Sean Payton offense perfect. And man, it's like Colin Cowherd saying it. Joel Klatt is saying the same thing. Mel Kiper is saying the same thing. Chase Daniel was talking about it. It's just like on and on. That's all you hear about is that the guy's got some Drew Brees comps. He fits really well in Sean Payton. And these are guys that like have played for the guy or have also studied a lot of his film. And it's pretty wild to see. And I genuinely do believe that he's probably going to be, he has the highest chance, I think, of all the quarterback, one of the highest chance of all these quarterbacks to succeed in the NFL. For several different reasons. Because I think a lot of those high ceiling guys, the guys that are a little bit more raw, that you can kind of mold into what it is that you want. It is extremely important that they're put into a right situation. So right now, I'm pretty convinced that I think Bo Nix is a better fit for the Broncos than JJ McCarthy. I think he's a better fit for the Broncos than Jaden Daniels. In fact, I think he's just overall better prospect than both of them. I think the JJ McCarthy hype it's actually probably very overblown because a lot of it is like, oh, he's a winner, super competitive, he's great in the film room, and he won a lot of games in Michigan. But he didn't really do a lot of things consistently enough that he's going to be asked to do in the NFL. So that's where I think is going to be a big learning curve for him. But I think he's got a shot. I mean, I like the kid, but I'm at the point now where I think Bo Nix might even be a better fit. But anyways, when we dive deep into this Broncos roster, there's been a lot of talk too. Broncos are kind of they're heading towards rock bottom. There's not really a clear vision. They don't really know where they're going. There's a lot of guys leaving, so on and so forth. And a lot of that is true. And that is the unfortunate truth of having a franchise that's finally accepting a rebuild and embracing a full blown rebuild, top down rebuild of the roster. And so I think that there is some truth to it. When I say that there's no direction, you can't say that there is or there isn't yet because the draft is going to show what that direction is. That's going to be the very clear indicator as to exactly what the vision is moving forward. But I mean, guys, this guy Sean Payton came out of retirement. He didn't need the money. He showed Broncos country that he's fully accepting, and they're going to rebuild, which I was shocked by, to be honest. And so there's no way he's just going to be like, yeah, we can suck for 4 years and then I'll just retire. I think that I'm confident that there is a vision. And when you look at our roster and the way that we're building it, it's really not nearly as bad as I think a lot of people are giving it slack for. because there's so many guys at so many key positions that have shown a lot of promise or have high potential. So yeah, there's a lot of risk there because they could obviously be kind of shitty and you know not ultimately pan out. But we're finally going to put them in a position where they can build and they can develop properly, you know, in one system, in one culture. I kind of relate it to how the Nuggets are, right? I mean, the Nuggets right now are beating the Trailblazers. You know, the Blazers suck, but they're doing it without Jamal Murray. They're doing it without Nikola Jokic, and they're doing it with a lot of these young guys to get them a lot of these minutes. But the Nuggets are the premier example of what a rebuild, a developing through a system looks like. I mean, they're literally the perfect example. The way that they, you know, obviously that they drafted guys like Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray who are stars, and they developed Christian Brown, and they developed Peyton Watson. You see those guys taking huge leaps. Um, and PJ. I mean, it's crazy. Like the list goes on, and then you added a couple pieces here that really fit well, and then you got these guys that played with each other for a long time in a similar system with the same coaching staff, just really gelling and digging each other. And I think that was one huge thing that I saw last year. I think you saw a group of guys that really enjoyed to play for each other, and that's always going to be rule number one. And that's what we're doing. Like, so we're going to bring in a young quarterback, whether it's a first round rookie or a mid round pick or whatever. We're going to bring in some young quarterback this year, even if it's Stidham. You can make the argument that Stidham is still a young quarterback because he's only played 4 games. He's technically is like still almost considered a rookie. I heard this thing that like an NFL player is considered a rookie until he gets 3 starts under his belt. So he's at 4. So he's basically a rookie. So you're talking about you're gonna have a young quarterback that's gonna be developed into like this farm system, right? Integrated into this culture, integrated into the similar system with somebody who's got a ton of success on the offensive side of the ball, and Sean Payton, obviously. Um, the running back position, you've got a guy like Jaleel McLaughlin, who's kind of this joker, right? This joystick type of a player. He can catch the ball. He's shown that. He's shifty. He's fun, and I think he could take another leap there. That is the room that I'm still the most concerned about because he's about the only guy that I look at as saying high ceiling, a lot of unknown, a lot of potential. The other guys, I feel like we kind of know who they are. So we'll see what they end up adding to that room. The offensive line, I'm super excited about because even though we lost Cushenberry, we have 4 of the 5 starters coming back. I think overall as a unit, they played really well. There was so many sacks that happened last year that were the quarterback's fault. Let's just say it how it is. I mean, it was. They were they were pretty damn good. I think they're ranked top 10 in both pass blocking and run blocking, and they're going to make significant strides. I think in another year together, another year under offensive line coach Zach Strief, who's really making a name for himself as becoming one of the best or one of the better O line coaches in the NFL. So he'll continue to develop that. So our O line as a whole I mean, it's easily top 10. You can look at all the metrics and it'll say that too. So to say you have a top 10 offensive line, but you're going to be a bottom third roster doesn't always jive. It usually is not like that, especially when they're saying that we're going to be like the bottom 3. So it doesn't really make sense to me. I think we've got a lot of good things going. And then in the receiver room, are we lacking an absolutely elite receiver? Yes, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I think Cortland Sutton is overrated. I always think he has been, but he's a solid player, I think, for what Sean Payton wants for him to be, kind of in that Michael Thomas role. And guys, I'm telling you, Tim Patrick, if he can just stay healthy this year, screw the 2 years of missing injury, him at 70%, he's going to add a dynamic that was very much missing to this offense. But the real keys here are guys like Marvin Mims, Brandon Johnson, a couple other guys' names are escaping me right now. I don't know why, but we have a couple. Those it's a young core, guys that have showed a lot of flash, a lot of promise, that are finally going to get opportunities to play a lot more snaps. They can turn into those superstar Pro Bowl-esque type of style receivers. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm telling you, I mean, Marvin Mims has that kind of potential, and Brandon Johnson has that kind of potential. He doesn't really have superstar, I would say necessarily Pro Bowl level good, but he's somebody that can just be solid, man. I mean, get you those big catches, and he just seems like anytime he gets the opportunity, he plays well. And then you got other guys filling in the roles. Little Jordan Humphrey as an example, who's fitting a very specific role, which is always so important. The tight end room is terrible. Let's say it how it is. The tight end room, barring a miracle that Greg Dulcich gets over these hamstring issues, it's a bad room. But still, even though it's been a really, really bad room, I mean, if Dulcich is able to get healthy, he's got unbelievable potential. We know that. But I also know from Jerry Jeudy that potential is just a word that pisses everybody off by the time the season starts. Um, but like Lucas Kroll, Nate Atkins, guys that are intriguing. You want to see more of them. Lucas Kroll showed some of that athleticism. He showed that he's kind of this guy that you can mold and work with, and it seems like Sean Payton likes him. But I think it's a room that you definitely have to add to, which is why I'm so high on Brock Bowers, and I would really be able to talk myself into being super excited about Brock Bowers, even if it meant not getting a quarterback. I know that sounds crazy, but he's somebody that can be that elite. But if that's not the route that we go, we can still address it with some young talent. But that's a place that I think we can there is potential, but it's I'm not really seeing it as being very promising. On the defensive line, that was like our weaker position, but still, I mean, guys that are solid. Zach Allen, he played so well, especially down the stretch last year. He was really a beast. DJ Jones has his moments. I think they finally found out what role he fits better in. He's not really a true nose. He's somebody that you could, put more of the three technique and be able to be a little bit better there. But he's shown those flashes, and I think that they're gonna roll with him another year. And then they brought in Hurst, and they brought in, this um a couple guys to be able to bolster it. A guy that I'm intrigued about, but we'll have to see when he actually even ends up getting unsuspended off the commissioners. This is Ioma Uzurike, who obviously we drafted a couple years ago. The whole gambling thing, obviously terrible, and it was a much bigger deal than just placing a couple sports bets. I mean, he was facing like federal charges and stuff in the state of Iowa, but I think he ended up getting cleared of that. So if he's back this year and he can just kind of leave all that stuff behind him, he's you talk about somebody that's got like ridiculous ability, ridiculous potential, very, very athletic, extremely high ceiling. He can be somebody there that's going to be it's going to be able to give some really, really good potential there too. So the D line is somewhere where I think that we can build off, but the defensive line was not that bad. We were bad against the run, but we started to get better, and I think just filling in a couple pieces here and there can start to make a lot of the difference. So we'll see what ends up taking place there, and what ends up happening after the draft. But I think from a free agency standpoint, the Broncos are actually going to probably be a lot more active after the draft into training camp. Guys are going to get cut, so that's when you'll see the Broncos start to make moves and fill in some of those roles. But they're really taking the evaluation route now. Um, D line. Linebackers, man, people hating on our linebackers. I think Alex Singleton is probably the most underrated player in the NFL. Dude's a tackling machine. Dude just hustles, man. He's everywhere. He's a baller. I really like watching him play. I know they said Drew Sanders is going to be an edge. Guys, I'm telling you, it's smoke. There's no way you can put him at edge. It just doesn't make any sense. So having him, excited to see excited to see how he develops into that role or whatever. Even if they do put him at edge, seeing him because he's somebody that like the talent is ridiculous. You see it. He's just got to hone a lot of these things and he's got to get stronger. So another year, what's the player development looking like? This is something that Sean Payton's always been really good at. They say is just being able to develop guys, get them better, get them into this role, and we'll see. Vance Joseph, not always so much, but he's kind of on the hot seat. So we'll see with that. I think Jonas Griffith is an extraordinarily underrated player, and if he's healthy, you guys are going to see that he's an absolute beast. I mean, he's shown how much of a beast he can be in the starting role too. And then we signed the Cody kid from his last name's escaping me. That shows like he's got a little bit of potential special teams ability. He can kind of fly around too. So we've got some guys that you're competing with, and then at the cornerback position, I mean, you've got an elite superstar, Pat Surtain. They were so high on Riley Moss. Finally, I hope that they give him the opportunity to actually develop. There was a lot of rumors that the Broncos were in on. Oh man, who was the guy that just got signed? Christian Fulton from the Titan. He used to play for the Titans. He he ended up signing elsewhere, but the Broncos, I think, were in on him. So it looks like they're still trying to like replace him, I guess, in a way. But it's like you really need to find out what you got in Riley Moss and see if he can actually be cornerback too. And then if not, you can always bring in like a Fabian Moreau type of guy that will be available, or some vet that'll end up getting cut once training camp happens. Safeties, we talked about this. Caden Stearns, PJ Locke, Brandon Jones. I love that room. Young, talented guys that can do. Everybody does multiple things really, really well. It's going to be fun watching that room, man. I think our safeties are going to be absolute ballers. And in the edge, our pass rushers, man, a lot of depth, but not lacking a superstar. But there's a lot of depth there. A lot of guys that you can really bank on. I think we can get really good production. Nick Bonito, I think, is going to take another step. He looked like a monster last year when, the times he was playing, and he was better actually setting that edge. Baron Browning, same kind of thing. It's always been health is a concern with Baron, but my God, when he's healthy, he's good. And then Jonathan Cooper, like, how can you not love that guy? How can you not love watching somebody like him play? And then you'll be able to continue to develop Thomas Incoom, guys like that you can look at and say, all right, let's give these guys some more reps and see if we can, take them next level, and be able to get them to be good. So, I mean, our roster, like I said, it's definitely lacking a lot of known talent, high level players, but we've got, I think, a really good foundation. We still sticking with a solid left tackle. Left tackle is, second most important position in sports. We've got a good left tackle. Our pass rushing room is above average. I would say it's at least it's very adequate. We've got ourselves an elite corner, but corner being such an unimportant position. I mean, you guys, we can argue about this all day. It's not that important of a position at all. You don't believe me? See what the Chiefs are doing. They don't care. Legere Sneed wants money. Cool. We'll pay somebody else. We'd rather give the money to somebody else at another position. So, but I mean, we still got the talent there. And then, a wide receiver room is like I said, I'm just so excited to see how those guys play. So overall, our biggest weaknesses, and aside from the quarterback, obviously, is I think that we need to get better at tight end. I think we need to get better at defensive line. And I would like to see us maybe add a couple bodies in the running back room. But overall, it's not that bad. And I think that if this is rock bottom, shit, man, the arrow is going in the positive direction. And we'll see what they end up doing. There's going to be a lot. I mean, we're going to be a completely different team uh, a month from now than we are. But especially by the time training camp and all that comes, I mean, people forget about all of the moves that are constantly made. Um, it's a thing. So I'm excited about it, man. And I think that if the Broncos can take even more than the $56 million hit or whatever that number was for Russ, if they can come out of this offseason and move over an additional 20, then Russ is dead money. Everything's basically all in the rearview mirror, and you can start to look ahead and just say, we're done with that. That's it. It's gonna be, we're gonna be moving forward. So build the team like the Broncos, build a team like the Nuggets do, build the team kind of like the Avs do. I think that they can really take a blueprint and take a picture out of the way that they did it. And I'm super excited, man, because it's finally like, it's kind of getting stagnant now, but there's not a lot of hype and not really a lot of like excitement, but there's finally something to look forward to, of saying, okay, we can go into the season understanding what the vision is. The vision is to build and to get better and to build that foundation and to develop guys. And that's why, like, even in those seasons that we've had, like the last, 7, 8 years, where by the time it's week 13, week 14, season's over, I still always like to watch those final games, right? Because it's like, all right, what young guys are going to flash? Are we going to be able to kind of develop a little bit? And there's always one or two that pop out. I mean, PJ Locke showed some of those in some of those games, and we'll see. Matt Henningsen is still somebody that I think can turn into something, uh, at least a little bit more of a solid situational type of a player. So there's always going to be guys, and I'm super excited. So that's why a part of me is like, do I want to get the quarterback? Yes. If I was running the Broncos, would I absolutely 100% draft a quarterback in the first round? Yes. Would I more likely move up than trade back to get him? 1000%. But I can also very much understand the argument of the Broncos trading back and getting more picks, if the picks that we get like are make a lot of sense. Like if we can, like I was doing a scenario earlier today where if the Eagles wanted to move from 22 to 12, they could do that. And the Eagles have 2 second-round picks. So if the Eagles were like, all right, we'll give you number 22 in the first round plus both of our second-round picks this year. I mean, hell yes, you're doing that. Hell yes, I would absolutely consider doing it unless you were, you know, like obsessed with Bo Nix. But um, if that's not the case, that's amazing because now instead of having 2 picks in the top 100, you've got 4 picks in the top 100 and 3 picks in the top 75. That's huge, and that's kind of how you build it. But you also have to trust that you nail it. So a lot of good things coming, guys. It's exciting. I'm just gonna try to fill up the channel with as much content and much food for thought, some things that maybe you guys can think about if you haven't before. But please like, comment, subscribe, man. Let me know what you guys want me to talk about. Let me know if there's anything that you disagree with, if you do agree with, what you want me to address, if you want my opinion on anything. And I obviously would love to hear yours as well in the comment section. So I appreciate you guys riding with me. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Talk to y'all tomorrow. A mile high salute to you guys as always, and peace out.